Well, hi, very warm welcome to Dusty Shelf. Hope I find you well. We're coming up on Remembrance Sunday, and around this time I do like to put a sort of topical video on the channel. And the last couple of years I've put up the review of this loco. This one was from Hornby from a couple of years ago, For the Fallen, and for me this is the best livery that Hornby have done on any of their locos. It is a wonderful model, and I'm very lucky to have it. People tell me that these have increased in price, so I'm going to do a quick mini review of this, but this video is going to be slightly different. So I'm going to quick mini review of this, and then my channel is all about collecting, and because of my varied collections I've become sort of the family custodian for all this kind of family memorabilia, and some of that is actually from my grandparents and my great uncle and great aunt that they had during the Second World War, and I've become the custodian for that collection. So I'm just going to share a few items with you from that, as well as giving this loco a quick look over, and then at the end of the video running this around the track. So very quickly then, it's got this wonderful livery on it with the Union Jack here, the poignant scenes and the poppies at the end here. The loco itself, I did a really in-depth review on this, but the loco itself did run, did exist. I don't know if it's still painted in this livery, but it certainly did exist and did run. On the side here you can see it's R3892, and on the back here we've got the schematic on the side here, and as somebody pointed out, it says 2020 on there, so this would have been released in 2020. You can see the date on the little picture at the bottom there. I'm not going to read all of this out, but I will just read this bit at the bottom. It's estimated that the railway in Britain lost 20,000 men during the First World War, and many railway stations in Britain have a memorial to their sacrifice, listing the names of those who worked on the railway but never returned to their jobs when the guns fell silent. To mark the contribution of the lives lost by regiments up and down the East Coast mainline route during the First World War, East Coast held a ceremony at Newcastle Station on the 14th of October 2014 to unveil 91111 in a special livery scheme created by the designer Paul Gentleman with the new name For the Fallen. The nameplate of the locomotive bears the crest of the regiments local to the East Coast route, and 91111's livery depicts soldiers, artifacts and tributes commemorating the contribution they made to the war effort. Let me just slide this out the box. And inside is this wonderful loco, and I mean, the livery must be stunning, you know, the real thing, but printed on here, that's probably one of my favourite model locos that I have. Well, if you'll allow me to indulge myself, I'll share with you some of my collection that's kind of pertinent to the topic. So in here are some of the badges that I collected as a child. I had a fascination with these cap badges and lapel badges and buttons. This is just some of them that I mounted in this box. They've been mounted in here for so many years. Now, go back 20 years, I could tell you what each one of these was, where it was from, which regiment, which were the very important ones. I believe this was quite an important one. And if I remember rightly, maybe it's this one. One of them is hallmarked and is actually made of silver, but yeah, there's a few of these that were quite special, and yeah, over time I've forgotten what all the badges are. I'm sure there's collectors out there that will know what all of these are, but yeah, this is a few of them. The others I've got in a tin, but I mounted these years ago. This here is what I believe to be a ARP whistle. So the ARP warden would patrol the streets during the blackouts, and I think this was my great-grandfather's. He was home guard at the time during the Second World War, this would be. And yeah, this would be the whistle that would be blown if there was any lights on, or needed to draw someone's attention. That was there. And this box as well, it's also something of interest. So the box, if you look on the side here, you can see it's got these mounting lugs, and as I understand it, I've never seen one of these before, but this would be for biscuits or something like that, and this would locate onto the top of a box, and then you display your biscuits or whatever inside here. And if somebody wanted some, or some of the product, they would unhook this box, and then they could help themselves to underneath, and then this would clip back on top and display the products inside. No idea where this came from, but you can see the original colour of it was sort of a gold colour, and somewhere along the line this has been painted. So I think what I'd like to do at some point is try and restore this, get all this old paint off, take it back to its original colour, because like I say, I've never seen one of these, and maybe if you know more about this you could tell me what it is. I've always assumed that it sat on top of a box, and but it's been put to good use over the years, as I say, by displaying my collection in here. So that's the badges. Now on to a couple of other bits which I think are quite interesting. This here, we actually bought when I was a child, or my parents bought when I was a child, from an antique shop, and it's sprung loaded, and when it opens up you can see the arrow on here denoting army issue. It's made of silk, but you can see it's a small parachute, and this has been released from all kinds of objects, carrying my Action Man down to safety when I was younger. And yeah, you just have this all sprung loaded like so, and then it'd be thrown from the aircraft with, well, whatever would be attached to this, some sort of supplies or munitions, and then as it came out of the aircraft the springs would pop the parachute open, and obviously down it would go. But yeah, we used this for many years. I mean, I probably had this 40 years with the silk on here. You can see it's beginning to show its age, and yeah, indeed this became an Action Man parachute. My brother had one as well. I don't know if he's still got his one, but yeah, my Action Man. A couple of other things here, just some lapel badges. No idea where these came from, but I know this one. This one I think I bought at an antiques fair when I was younger and I was with my parents. Had this one an awful long time. I probably had this 40 years. Don't know where that one came from either, but something a little bit more modern there. Next thing to show you is this little book. Just checking the camera's on. Now, I don't know a great deal about this. What I can tell you is the picture in the middle here. I believe this is the armistice car from the First World War, and the book itself, it's not hallmarked, but made of a metal, and you can see that the colouring on the sides here, it's showing its age, but very ornate and very decorative. And then on the side here we've got this pencil, which I'll just slide out, and inside there's various notes written in here. These look like addresses. You can see this one in Watford, this one in Canada, obviously somebody taking notes, one there in Paddington, Hartford, yeah, and somebody clearly took notes in this book. As I say, no idea of its history. I've certainly had it an awful long time. In fact, I can tell you that I got this just before the space shuttle landed at Stansted, and that would have been, I believe, 1982. So I probably got this about 1981. Don't know why I remember that, but yeah, I've had it that long, and yeah, it's not going to go anywhere. This will always be part of my collection, but I'm guessing the fact that it's got the armistice car on there, this has got to be getting on for 100 years old now, I'm guessing. The next thing is something my great uncle gave me many years ago, and it's an emergency ration. Purpose of contents to be consumed only when no other rations of any kind are procurable. To open, strip off band, insert coin into the corner grooves and turn. Notice, not to be opened except by order of an officer. And he had this for many years. This was his issue when he was serving in the Second World War. And I think in the 1970s, when this, on an anniversary, he opened it. And because he'd never been told not to open it by an officer, he wanted it, and he opened it and ate some of it. Now, this is now on many years after it. There's a smell of cocoa in the room, but I'm certainly not gonna chance eating any of that. But you can see the foil wrapper in there, and yeah, the remains of whatever that is, the cocoa in this emergency ration. That yeah, it's lasted a long time. I mean, he probably gave this to me when I was, I don't know, just under 10 years old. So I mean, 45 years ago. I've kept it that long. Another one of those things from my great uncle, and this one I've found quite sad recently, because this has got the string on here, and I've kept this good, perfect, all these years. You can see the packing of the respirator, placed in the box and the heavy end of the container, standing in the bottom of the box. Transparent eyepiece should lie within the top of the container, and in here we have his issued gas mask that he would carry around in this box. But recently, and I mean very recently, in the last couple of years, it started to corrode, and I don't know why. It's been kept in the same place, same condition all these years, and you see the straps broken away, and it's finally, time has caught up with it. It's always been stored in its box. It's been stored in sort of a cabinet, and yeah, as time's gone on, the rubber has started to perish. It's actually a little bit worse than it was last year when I lifted it out. I mean, obviously, you don't put these anywhere near your face now, because I have all kinds of things inside. But I've kept that for an awful long time, and it's still in its cardboard box here. But as I say, time is catching up with it, so how many more years that will last, I don't know. And just make sure that goes back in flat. Yeah, such a shame. As I say, it's you know, it's got his address on there from years ago, and yeah, just move those bits. I don't think I'll need to keep those. And then to go with the gas mask is this. So basically, this is a cleaning product for the gas mask. So it says, clean the eyepiece with the cloth provided, breathe on the eyepiece, apply a little compound evenly with the finger, breathe on the eyepiece again, and polish very lightly with the cloth. So inside here, at this end, at the compound, and then at this end, got the cloth. I'm not going to pull that out, but it's like a long ribbon band of cloth that goes with this. And again, that went with this gas mask, and both of these belonging to my great uncle. And the final thing I have here is a book. This was Town Hall Woolwich, 19th of July 1919, so a year after the end of the First World War. And you can see here, the Metropolitan Borough of Woolwich, souvenir of the Great War 1914 to 1919, a victorious peace. I'll just go through a few of the paragraphs in here very quickly. This talks about the procession, royal procession passing through the streets of a little town in South Austria known as Sarajevo, and then the assassination of Duke Franz Ferdinand. Moving on a little bit, why Britain went to war. Why did we go to war, you may ask? Well, that is soon told. In the first place, the great idea of the Germans is false. They wanted to conquer everyone else. They got to thinking that might was right and cared little much for the rights of other smaller nations. Our King George V said we should be disgraced and looked down upon by other nations if we did not help little Belgium. Now obviously, with this being written 100 years ago, it's not technically politically correct in this day and age, but I will do my best here. So, Britain's friends and friends across the sea. When we say Britain, we are so apt to thinking of our small country here, surrounded by the sea and safe from all foes. But Britain is a great empire, the greatest empire in the world, ruled over by one king, our king, King George V. It goes on to list some of the nations in the empire and all the different nations that sent troops to assist, and so all hands at home from distant lands. The friends of Britain rallied round her with royal and true hearts, helped her to overthrow the tyrant who would trample the weaker nations under his feet. So all hands at home and from distant lands, the friends of Britain rallied round her with loyal and true hearts. It goes on, the French. The French have been our true friends for many years, although we've had many wars with them in the past. All this has been forgotten, and we stood side by side against a common foe. Talks about other allies, Romania, and then the last to join the allies were the Americans. They did not want to interfere with European matters. The next chapter is called Britain's Sword. When war broke out, we were not ready. We always had an army of a fair size to guard our own country and our lands across the seas. For such a great war as this, we wanted more men, and many more times more men. So the king called for more volunteers, 1 million in all. A great soldier, a man who had been in many wars, General Kitchener, was given the task of fitting out and drilling this great host. It says here, while the small force was being got ready, time was not lost. The young men of Britain, roused by the stirring call by our king, and by our great speakers, left their work and flocked in great crowds to join the army. Men from the mines, the office, the fields, the docks, dukes' sons, cooks' sons, sons of 100 kings. As a great poet sang, men of all ranks, from their highest to their lowest, rushed to offer their help. Kitchener soon had as many men as he wanted, and of all the right sort. The king's message concluded, I pray God bless you and guard you and bring you back victorious. Talks about Britain's navy here, our shore shield. Our navy was the greatest the world had ever known. It was to our navy we looked for safety. It was our navy that guarded our shores and kept our thousands of ships on all of the oceans, bringing us food and other things from safe attack. Talks here about the dreadnought and the cruisers and how good the navy were. I mean, this is quite poignant. My great-great-grandfather died at the Battle of Jutland in the First World War. This chapter, the war begins on land, poor little Belgium, then marching into France, and then towards the back here, page 19, we've got trench warfare. We've got the Battle of Vimy Ridge and Loos, the Battle of Verdun and the Somme, then the battles of 1917, and the last campaign. The year 1918 opened darkly. Russia was in the grip of Germany, and this let loose millions of German soldiers who were brought over to the west. American troops were now beginning to arrive. The Germans had made a great attacking march on the Somme, and owing to there being 2 to 1 of our men, were able to push back a distance of 30 miles. Got King George and the Big Four there. There's Lloyd George and President Wilson. Over the side here, Field Marshal Lord French, and some of the admirals here, Lord Jellicoe. People signing up. It says, set my name down, sir. Our Indian troops, Canadian troops, British troops landing in France, Belgian soldiers helping refugees along. There's a picture there of HMS Queen Elizabeth, munition workers, Queen's Mary Army Auxiliary Corps, and then the German destroyer steaming into the place of surrender in the North Sea. It does actually talk somewhere in here. I did have a quick scan through this to sort of pick some bits out, but it did talk about the fleet being, German fleet being scuttled in Scapa Flow. Woolwich in the Great War, and I'll remind you of this book, Souvenir of the Great War from Woolwich Town Hall, the metropolitan borough of Woolwich. The borough of Woolwich, for many years past, an important garrison town and the largest munition centre in the United Kingdom, took a unique part in the Great War. And yeah, you can see the town hall here, and some of the dignitaries. There's a picture here, the heroism of John Travers, the giant airship, the R-33, releasing carrier pigeons from a seaplane. And here we got the Great March of Dominion troops through London. Ladies working for our soldiers. And Louvain before the war and Louvain after the war. Reims Cathedral there. The cracked light infantry corps of the Italian army. And Belgians driven from home. It is a fascinating book, and as I say, written over 100 years ago. So you know, some of the language in here is a little bit different to what we would read today. There's some information here about Palestine and the Suez Canal. This is obviously written for school children in 1919, and obviously it's written as a great success story and achievement, and very positive, but also reading between the lines, you know, it does echo the losses on both sides and the absolute madness of war. And then a little bit here about the merchant navy, and then in the air, obviously in the air it talks of the Zeppelins here, but you know, right at very early in aircraft development. And then finally how boys and girls helped, women's work, and then Britain triumphs the armistice. About 10:30 on the 11th of November 1918, the joyful news spread throughout the length and breadth of Britain that our enemies had given up the struggle and had signed the terms of the armistice. I'm just going to read this little piece here. Again, you know, do remember this was written 100 years ago. Why Britain won. Britain never, never, never shall be slaves. You are never tired of singing this. Do you know what this stirring song means? When you sing Rule Britannia, do you know that millions and millions of young Britons for 100 years, have been singing it? Why? Because Britain has made herself a mistress of the seas, and since the days of Drake, nearly 400 years ago, Britain has never been beaten on the sea. Britons shall never be slaves, for on land as well as sea, Britain has fought for freedom, and will not bow down to any nation. She loves freedom herself, and she gives freedom to others. All colonies are free, and that is why they are loyal and helping the mother country. And then finally on the back page here, it says the news was welcomed in this country with heartfelt thanks, and a king ever to the fore when the welfare of his people is concerned. Addressed a letter to the nation, here it is. The signing of the Treaty of Peace will be received with deep thankfulness throughout the British Empire. This formal act brings to its concluding stage the terrible war which has devastated Europe and distracted the world. It manifests the victory of the ideals of the freedom and liberty for which we have made untold sacrifices. I share my people's joy and thanksgiving, and earnestly pray that the coming years of peace may bring them increasing happiness and prosperity. George. So there you go. There's a book from 100 years ago, issued to juniors just after the First World War. final thing that I just wanted to share with you is this, which is one of the poppies from the Tower of London art display. Now, I've shown this on the channel before, and the art installation was called Blood Swept Lands, Seas of Red, and basically Paul Cummings was the artist. 888,246 poppies were made for the art installation at the Tower of London, and it was on between the 5th of August and the 11th of November in 2014. And at the end of the art installation, you can see here, I'll just show you this picture, you can see all of these poppies were in the moat of the Tower of London. And at the end of the art installation, they sold the poppies off, and some of the proceeds were given to charity. And I think this is just wonderful. I have this on display, and this time of year it's certainly something to look at. Anyway, there's a few of the things that are in my collection that sort of pertain to this time of the year. I'm really interested to know if other people keep these kind of things. I mean, really, none of these have any monetary value. For me, they are probably some of the most important things I own, especially the ones that are connected with the family. But I will be custodian of these, and I shall pass them on to the next generation when that time comes. But I just wondered, is there anybody else out there collect these things? Obviously out there are true collectors of military items, but does anybody else kind of keep the bits that have sort of been passed down over the generations, that you know, things like, you know, this, the gas mask cleaner, you know, I mean, nobody would have kept those, would they? I mean, I'm sure they've got them in a museum, but this is actually going with the gas mask that it was carried with during the Second World War. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up, and why not check out the channel, lots on there. And if you can subscribe, I'll be very, very grateful. And with that, we'll leave this one there. I'll just say thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.